So we have with us today Dr. Aram and Shri Rajmohan Gandhi. Dr. Aram worked in the Coimbatore University for more than 10 years. And then he went to Nagaland in the northeast India, where there has been a great deal of insurgency and disorder. And he worked on the peace mission for 14 years there. And he was able to establish a dialogue between the Nagas and the rest of the government and others, informally, through Jayaprakash Nayak. He was working on behalf of Jayaprakash Nayak. And after that, he is now in the Gandhigram University near Madurai. He is Vice Chancellor of that university. It is for rural welfare work.
You speak a little louder so they can't hear.
Rural welfare work and family planning. And he has achieved in one village what we all hope to achieve on a large scale. One village has been voluntarily by education come to zero rate of growth of population. He is very much interested in that kind of work and has been doing it. Mr. Rajmohan Gandhi, as you know, he was...
Louder, sir. They can't hear a thing.
He is a very respected person in India. He used to run a paper called Himmat for ethical values in society. And the paper had to close down. He closed down his paper during the emergency because they could not stand it. But he continues to work for... So,
you have to tell about me.
Position in society.
You have to say something about me too.
We thought it would be interesting because they have been working in a field of imparting to society an ethical and base for regeneration. Not only material regeneration, but material regeneration with a moral basis too. So we thought it would be interesting.
So what's the
issue is that you have said that any work that we do in regard to society must create greater complexities and newer problems unless we start at the center. And that the starting point is compassion. They have also great faith that compassion is the source of all loving kindness and good relationships between human beings. But they say we cannot wait upon compassion. We must start to work with society. And as we start to work with society, if we are constantly aware that the ego is a factor of discord, then social work can become the best means of achieving probably compassion.
May I say something?
Sir, no, I'm not the chairman.
Sir, for many years I have been an admirer of you from a distance, and today I feel tremendously privileged to have this unique opportunity to participate in this intimate dialogue. Some of your teachings are entirely agreeable to me. For instance, each one should be a light unto oneself. The inward revolution should come first. The ego should go. The mind should be free from conditioning. And when the observer is observed, the conflict ceases. Having said this, Krishnaji, may I say also that, and I say this based upon my own experience, social action is necessary and important. Social action is necessary in order to face challenges, in order to solve problems. So I feel that self-change and social change should go hand in hand. Achuji has mentioned, and last night he said it, these two processes of self-change and social change should go on simultaneously.
Do I answer what you put?
No.
Oh, I would only like to say ditto to what Dr. Aram has said.
What's up?
Ditto. I agree with what he has said. I'm in a very happy position just to be able to say that.
I defined his position as that the two processes are simultaneous. And I said that Krishnaji's position, as I understand it, is slightly different. Therefore, there is room for a very useful dialogue.
Sir, I'd like to ask, what do you mean by social change?
May I give an example? Achuji referred to the Nagaland situation. In the 50s, the situation there was very bad. There was conflict, there was violence, there was counter-violence, a lot of bloodshed, loss of life, destruction of property, hatred, and so on. This was the situation in the 50s. Then in 1964, the peace mission came on the scene. And the peace mission was able to bring about a ceasefire, the suspension of violence first. That brought about a change in the situation. Then, as Achuji mentioned, the peace mission was able to bring about a dialogue between the contending parties. There was the Naga underground and the government of India, and the peace mission succeeded in bringing the underground leaders face to face with the Prime Minister. The dialogue started. The dialogue was not very fruitful in the first phase. There were no results coming out of the dialogue. Nevertheless, the peace mission continued to work. I think the secret of success in the Nagaland peace mission was its sustained work for peace and goodwill, irrespective of the outcome. As a result, over the years, may I say, there was a qualitative change in the situation, and the situation moved gradually from one of unpeace to peace, one of discord to harmony. And finally, it did result in a breakthrough in 1975, the famous Shillong Peace Accord, when the underground decided to stop fighting, and they were brave enough to say farewell to arms, and they deposited all their arms to the peace mission, which was a miracle really, a dream which came true. This I would consider a major change in the social situation.
Well, obviously, we want to see an end to hunger in the world, corruption, war, and we would be very reluctant to confine ourselves only to the reformation of ourselves, although we absolutely agree that that has to be the heart of any wider change. But unless we are very keen to better the world, to use a very old-fashioned expression, we may feel that even in our own endeavors to curb our egos, we may not succeed. Because when it comes to forgetting the ego or trying to restrain it or curb it or extinguish it, I personally have found in my personal experience that remembering other individuals is often the best way of forgetting myself. Whereas if in a vacuum I'm trying to forget myself, I'm all the time remembering myself who has to be forgotten. So in the act of forgetting, I'm actually remembering. Whereas if I have in my mind's eye or with my physical eyes, I see the suffering of others, and I see many other individuals who perhaps need help, then I'm better able to forget myself. And I cannot accept really that I must not be preoccupied with the sad and painful and ugly condition of our world.
I'm not sure, sir, I agree with all this. Forgive me, I'd just like to explore. Would you grant that the world, not just Nagaland or India, that the humanity, not of a particular nation or a group, American or Russian or Indian or Chinese, humanity is facing a great crisis?
Yes.
And mere tinkering, a little bit here, a little bit there, is not going to change the human consciousness.
May I say, sir, that in our introductory talk before this dialogue, it was conceded that whatever one does with respect to any particular locality, one has to have a global mind, a global perspective, that actually what we are faced with an unprecedented crisis in the human situation, but that is not an abstraction. One has to deal with it at the place where one is.
But you have to have a global mind, a global attitude or a global quality of the brain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Have we? Or are we talking about all this theoretically?
I think we have.
To have sir, just a minute.
I am being very particular. In this specific instance, we are having this dialogue between persons who have the inwardness to see that mere conceptual understanding or acceptance of a global perspective is totally inadequate. That wherever one actually is, one must feel oneself as a world citizen.
As
A world citizen.
do we? I mean, is this theory or actuality?
No, I said that there are people who are aware of the fact that it is not enough to have a conceptual frame, but actually wherever one is, one must function as a world citizen.
I don't think where one is matters.
But one has to be somewhere.
Yeah, you are. But the principal activity should be whether the brain, which has been so conditioned, can ever be global, or always a particular individual, a particular community, particular nation, and so on. That's my question.
Krishnaji, I would agree that the inward revolution should come first. And I would also make a modification in what I said at the outset, that self-change should precede social action. Self-change should precede social action. This again, I make a modification. While I do believe the two processes should be simultaneous, but I also believe that the inward revolution should come first. But even to test the validity of the inward revolution, one may have to go to the social field.
I don't quite.
As a matter of fact, sir, Achyutji mentioned about the Nagaland situation, and we were able to achieve some results. If that was possible, speaking out of my own experience, before I went into Nagaland, where I worked for 14 years, I did have some sort of an inward change, and armed with that only we were able to face the situation. For instance, the requirement, the basic requirement for peace work in Nagaland was freedom from the fear of death. And very fortunately, before I went into Nagaland, I had some sort of experience which did give me that freedom from the fear of death. So what I am trying to say is that self-change comes first, the change in the consciousness, but then it should be reflected and used in the context of a social situation. This is my submission.
No. You're answering, sir.
Well,
I'm not.
My reaction to your thought about whether we really have a global mind is to say, speaking for myself, that very frequently I do not have a global mind. I often have a very family mind or a personal mind, or I'm preoccupied with the next thing I have to do, the article I may have to write. But I say this much, that frequently, though not always, I wish it could be always, frequently, though not always, I check myself when I find that I have this very narrow mind. And I personally require two things to leave my self-centeredness and have a bigger mind. One is a personal decision in my own mind and heart, and the other is a prayer to the Almighty that He may enable me to carry out my decision. Speaking for myself, this is my experience, and I frequently found that when I admit to myself or to those involved that I was at that point having a narrow mind, then I get freedom. Admission, confession, acknowledgement brings me liberty, and a decision supported by the Almighty's grace gives me a bigger mind, at least for the time being.
So I question whether there is a God Almighty.
Sir, this is the second subject which I thought would be...
Sir, let's proceed step by step.
Yes.
Could we?
No, the second subject came in our discussion with Rajmohanji. I found that prayer was a very dynamic factor in his life. That prayer was not for a personal God or anything, but there was a prayer as a source of renewal. And I felt that it would be good to discuss both the subject that Dr. Aram has put and...
Would you mind repeating? No.
You see, Dr. Aram put... the
I understood his point of view.
I don't have to repeat, which is that if you start with an inner experience, even then, like fear of losing the fear of death through an experience, it has to be tested through social action, and it has got to be applied to social action. This was
Why do you always relate
inward
social
mind.
action and mutation in the brain cells? Why do you always correlate those
in
two?
this country-
You are all socially minded.
No, sir. In this country,
I know, I don't
teaching
bring
of Advaita coexisted with untouchability for centuries. So every earnest Indian is, as it were, put on his guard, never to trust any experience which does not find the reflection in behavior. You said behavior is righteousness.
Where do we start this dialogue? You bring in so
These are
many.
the two views, sir. One is about this, and
Which
the
is
other
what?
is about...
No, just go through. One is there must be inward change.
Ji.
I would like to understand what you mean by those words. Psychological mutation, right? If I can use that word, in the very structure of the brain cells which have been conditioned, whether that's possible. We talk very easily about inward revolution, psychological change and all that. Is that physically, psychologically possible? That's all my first question. You understand my question, sir?
Well, I think I partly do, sir.
Either you understand it completely or not partially.
Well, I think I do, but I'm not absolutely sure that I do. So that's
So
my
let's
position.
be clear on that point before we...
Well, I personally prefer personal change to the phrase inward change.
What?
I personally prefer the phrase personal change to the phrase inward change.
What do you mean personal?
Well, let me put it in very simple words. When I see, either in myself or in others before me, where there was hatred, there is love. Where there was dishonesty, there is honesty. Where there was malice, there is charity. I call that personal change in those people or in myself.
So you're introducing love and hate. Are they related to each other?
I think they are the opposites of each other.
Then it's not love. If they're opposite, they are not love. If you like to have a dialogue on it, let's go into it. You see, sir, this is what I want to be clear. We use words, this you and I, and we use words, each one giving a different significance or meaning to it. So let us all agree, if we can, for a definite meaning of each word. Right, sir? Society is brought about by us, by every human being, right, sir? Whether that society be recent or ancient. That society is put together, structured by every human being all over the world. Whatever the environment, whatever the climate and so on, it's produced by human beings. That society is in a chaos at the present time. That should agree.
Yes, sir.
It is in a state of desperate confusion. In America, in Europe, and I'm sure in Russia and here, the threat of war, they are frightened.
Nuclear weapons.
Huh?
Nuclear weapons.
Of course, that's the real danger. Now, our brain is conditioned by a so-called culture. Now, that conditioning has given us a personal attitude, a personal outlook, if I may use your word, personal, or individualistic concern. Right? And we are questioning whether the individual exists at all. And you always talk about self, forgetting oneself, prayer, love and hate. I don't understand all these words which you are using. If love is the opposite of hate, as you pointed out, sir, I'm not quibbling with you. I'm not facetious, but I want to be very clear about this matter. If love is the opposite of hate, then it's not love. Any opposite, love, the opposite of hate. If hate is the opposite of love, they are related to each other. Therefore, it's not love. Just a minute. So, I feel we ought to be very clear in our dialogue with each other, whether we understand the meaning of each word. I'm not saying you don't understand.
Meaning of?
Every word.
The word we use
Yes.
and the context in which we use it.
Yes.
This, he used the word love and hate, charity and greed, and so on, as opposites. I said, this is just playing this tennis in the same court all the time.
Would you allow me, sir, to...
Oh, sir, I'm not chairman. You can say what you don't
Well,
ask.
Achyutji would allow me
Ask.
then. Now, I have seen in the last several years, in India and outside, several notable changes in many individuals and through them in the environments in which they live. I've seen, for instance, a woman in Africa, a white woman, whose father was buried alive by the Mau Mau in Kenya, and who was able not only to forgive and restore relations with former members of the Mau Mau or present members of the Mau Mau, but is able to work with them for something new and better in Africa. I've also met several people in the northeastern part of India, about which Dr. Aram was speaking and Achyutji was speaking, where I've seen people who have sworn revenge, who have desired to kill others, now working hand in hand with them. Now, whatever name we give to the previous situation, I would regard the change in the situation as highly desirable and highly necessary throughout the world. I agree that their new attitude may not be absolutely maximum, that perhaps if love is only seen as the opposite of hate, it is perhaps the very poor idea of the greatness of love in all its aspects that we may one day have and should have. But I don't personally feel inclined to scoff at minor and humble improvements.
Sir, I'm not scoffing.
Well, I have the impression, perhaps, sir, that you
No, sorry, I don't scoff. Nor am I cynical. I just want to know, are we talking about small incidents or concerned whether he and us and the rest of us could have a brain that is not encompassed, held in a nationalistic, particularized attitude. That's all I'm asking. First.
Krishnaji, I would agree that we should go beyond the nationalistic attitude and we should have a global outlook. But
No.
while we may think or have a global outlook, we may have to act locally.
So first the other.
Yes.
No, let's discuss. You're bringing always locally.
Sir, these both gentlemen
I
are
know.
people with a deep commitment, not purely intellectual, that man and his well-being is indivisible. Now, having this as a deep inner conviction, one acts in whatever environment one is placed. Therefore, one's action must have a local bias because you have to deal
Understood,
with the
sir.
complex
Don't
situation.
keep on repeating that, sir, if I may point out. You have stated that over and over and over again.
I am saying therefore the fact that one is working in a limited situation does not restrict one's perspective.
I'm not sure, sir. You are putting first the local activity, and I'm saying, if I may point out most humbly and respectfully, that have we got this quality of a global mind first? Not Nagaland changes South Africa a little bit there, and me working a little garden and so on. But this is not cynical or scoffing, but the world, humanity, I feel, humanity, not a particular individual, humanity
Yes.
is in a great crisis, tremendous crisis. Humanity being, shall I go into all that?
Please.
Humanity, human beings, whether in India, Russia, America, China, Japan, and so on, are going through a great turmoil. Right? Whether the American and so on, they suffer a great deal, confused, uncertain. They are questioning the very God and very existence of religions. And so, and people here in this country too are questioning the gods and the Almighty, the temples and all that business. So, human consciousness is shared by all of us. It's not your consciousness nor my consciousness, it's human consciousness. Right? Therefore, psychologically we are not individuals. You may be tall, I may be short, I may be tall, fair, or you are dark. That's outward changes, outward facts. You are a man, another is a woman. But psychologically, inwardly, we all share the same ground. So there is no individuality as far as I'm concerned. And this rampant individuality in the world, personal, non-personal, which all becomes individual, is creating havoc in the world. So-called freedom of the individual. It's an illusion as far as I'm concerned.
Krishnaji, may I say this?
Please,
When
sir.
you go beyond the ego state, it becomes a generalization. That is, so long as you have the ego, you have the individuality.
No, sir. Let's look, sir. What do you mean by the word ego? This is not a philosophical discussion.
It's very hard for me to accept that we are not individuals when all of us have come here to talk with
No,
J.
sir.
Krishnamurti.
No, I'm not. I am not J.K. That's just a name.
Well, you are Krishna Ji.
I know, that's just a word, a symbol. It has no value.
Well,
So it's like a sannyasi put on a robe. He's left all that nonsense.
yes. Well, if you were to take a clear stand, as you seem to do, sir, that there is no such thing as individuality, I, with very great respect, would register my disagreement with that.
Delighted. Now let's talk about it.
And
No,
I would make a distinction between individuality and individualism, which I see as the disease. But I see each individual as a very special person with wonderful, unique characteristics.
Oh, sir, you're going back to the old-fashioned business.
Well,
Which is just a minute. I'm not cynical. I'm not being impatient.
I just wanted to say one thing, sir. Perhaps I should not have used the word scoffing, but I still feel that there is an inclination to regard minor local level, national level improvements as rather unimportant.
I do.
And this is where I, with great respect, have a different point of view.
I also with great respect.
And because I feel that small marginal improvements are also worth having. I make a little, draw an analogy from the sun and the earth. The earth is so many, God knows how many millions of miles away. And the difference between the North Pole's distance and the sun and the equator's distance and the sun is a very, 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 very tiny difference, utterly insignificant, and yet in our actual life it makes such a great difference to this earth and to the people living
Yes,
it. And in the same way, I just want to stand up and be counted in favor of minor, marginal changes.
I won't say marginal. As a matter of fact, I won't accept the word, Rajmohanji, let us take the population problem, which is a global problem, Krishnaji.
Yes,
the
sir.
global problem
It's a global problem. Starvation is a global
is a
problem.
global problem.
And social change is a global problem.
Yes.
They are poor in America, poor in Africa, poor in this country, poor in Japan. We are one humanity.
Rajmohanji, this population now in Gandhigram, I mean going back to the local situation, but there is good reason. Dr. Soundaram, our Chancellor, the founder of Gandhigram, who no doubt derived her inspiration from Gandhiji, but followed her own fresh approach to the population issue, and in Atur block, where we have been working consistently for many years, the birth rate has been brought down from 35 per thousand to 21 per thousand. And as Achuji mentioned earlier, one of our 26 villages has already attained zero population growth rate. I do believe that what has been achieved in that village of Kannimanuttu has global significance. Here is one village community, the men and women of that village have done what India may do after 30 years or 40 years. The India as a whole may not reach zero population growth rate till maybe 3 or 4 decades, they say.
Sir, recently, last year or year before, top scientists met. And if there is a nuclear war, the whole earth will be destroyed, because the nuclear explosion will create so much smoke, dust, it will cover the earth with darkness, and the temperature of the earth will be -5 for years, and nothing will exist. Your global little change there, in your village, just much that. I'm not belittling that.
No.
That's why I'm asking you to, showing you, or requesting you to look at something else. Prayers have failed. Religions have failed to change man. They have not stopped wars. Pakistan, India, Russia and America. They have not stopped wars. Right? And we are facing a tremendous war situation. And the local things, when they are creating a tremendous chaos in the world, it's all right. So how do you deal with that human brain which is creating the mess and trying to solve the mess, and finally cannot do it? And you are talking to me about little village doing good. I'm not belittling, sir. I'm not saying it should not. And I said, for God's sake, what are these people talking about? Just wait, Achuji, just wait. I know. I'm a German, right in the middle of the two great powers. I'm scared stiff. And you come along and tell me we are doing a little bit there. I said,
May I respectfully ask?
I'm respectfully saying this.
This global crisis, this crisis of the threat of nuclear war, what would you suggest should be done to face this crisis, to resolve this crisis?
I don't do it.
Paralyze our initiative.
What?
Should it paralyze our initiative for operating effectively within the sphere of one's own life?
What is this?
I live wherever I am, and around me there are my daily challenges. Should the viewpoint of the global threat paralyze me to such an extent as to prevent me from acting kindly,
Perhaps you're
acting
paralyzed.
urgently,
Perhaps you're paralyzed.
then I would like to know
You're,
how I can get
Sir,
out of that, because that is very
that's what I am asking, sir. The brain cells contain all the past experience, knowledge and memory. This is scientifically proved. Though the speaker has been saying for years and years. And unless there is a mutation there, human beings will go on everlastingly like this. Wars, little improvement, marginal changes, better than, etc., etc., etc. You understand? I put this most respectfully forward.
But since we do not know how to get that,
Wait, sir. Do we see the necessity of that? Not marginal, forgive me. Not my going to doing little village and creating birth control, blah, blah, but is it possible for a human consciousness which is contained in the brain, right? And whether there can be mutation in that. That's all my question. I'm not saying marginal activity is not necessary. I'm not saying the village improvement or all that. I'm saying yes. Very
You would
nice.
say they are necessary.
Huh?
You would say they are necessary.
Perhaps. It may not be necessary. There may be something totally different might happen.
But in the absence of clarity,
Why? That's.
I apologize for using one of your words.
May I most respectfully, in the absence of clarity. Why isn't there clarity?
But that wasn't my complete sentence, sir. In the absence of clarity on how to bring about a simultaneous change in billions of brains all over the world, I am aware of the need for that change very clearly, but I do not know of any method of achieving that rapidly. And until and unless I find, or somebody else enables me to find, a way of doing so, I am perfectly content with my relatively unsatisfactory approach.
Then continue, most respectfully point out, continue.
Well, I should. With this blessing on your part, sir, I will continue.
Sir, a general once came to me, general of the army, and said, give me your blessing. Sir, let's be simple. This has been a question which you raised just now. I may change, mutation. It will not affect the majority, right? Vast majority of human beings. Right? That's what you said.
Well, perhaps that was an implication of what I said, yes.
It's simple about
Yes.
this. And therefore, don't bother to change. It doesn't affect the majority. There's one argument which has been well thrashed out. The other argument is, what's it point for you to change when humanity doesn't change? Right? My question is, if I may most respectfully point out, we are not talking about individual change, personal change, and minimal change. I'm talking about, the speaker is saying, there must be a radical, fundamental mutation in the whole consciousness of man. That is where the crisis is, not nuclear war.
Well, I myself would, since I'm afraid my preference is, I prefer to use the word heart often for the mind, because I feel that the knowledge is one thing, but I think it's the passions of hate and fear and greed in us which create the possibility of nuclear war.
So better of greed and hate.
I'd like to.
But sir, and you go and do social, most especially, go and do social work when you are frightened and scared and greedy.
No, Krishnaji, no question of going to social work when you are frightened.
The gentleman says that.
No, he doesn't.
Oh, I don't think I said that.
He doesn't say
No,
that.
then what? You see, that's what I want. You're going off, you're saying one thing, I'm saying another. So do we acknowledge or see the fact that our consciousness, what we call individual consciousness, is shared by all humanity?
Yes, I accept that.
What do you mean accept?
I agree with it.
What do you mean? Most respectful.
Well, I hesitate to answer because then you'll ask me what I mean by that.
I'm not saying that. I want to know, when you say I agree with you, what are you agreeing with? The idea or the fact? The fact that you, Mr. Gandhi, all of us share the same consciousness. That we are all frightened, we are all greedy, violent, stupid, and so on and so on.
I would say we all have the same human nature.
Same consciousness as human nature. All right, we prefer that word. Therefore, you are no longer a particularized consciousness.
Well, me, in addition to sharing the general weaknesses of human nature, I am who I am also as an individual. I personally believe that.
What do you believe? That's your condition.
Could be.
Sir, this is, I don't say it is so, or not could be, and leave it there. This is a dialogue, exchange, conversation between two people, friendly, not opposed to each other. We are having a dialogue. In a dialogue, you question everything.
There
Your
is
belief, my belief, your attitude, my attitude. We question everything to find out what is true.
Sir, shall I simplify the matter like this? That these two friends have found from experience, that it is necessary to operate simultaneously on one's psyche and on the person next to you, the neighbor.
Understood.
Now you are saying, I am saying your position is that you question this issue of simultaneity. Now your position is not yet clear to us.
This, if we base on personal experience, we are lost.
Yes.
You two gentlemen have been saying all my personal experience, my attitude, then it becomes very, very personal. But I am questioning. Humanity, sir, is supposed to have lived on this earth about 50,000 years. From the ape, we have evolved to what we are now. And it has taken 50,000 years for Homo sapiens, for a human being. And we are, during these long years and duration of evolution, we are more or less the same. More or less. We are greedy, fearful, secure, first love, all. From the most savage, primitive, we have not moved very far. We have moved a foot. You understand? We have not moved very far. Technologically, we are moving north. Psychologically, we are about the same. We believe in God Almighty. Those poor fellows also believe in God Almighty. Only they call it from something else, but it's the same attitude. Fear. Right? And we can go on like this for the next 50,000 years, unless we are wiped off the face of the earth. Right? And I question this evolutionary gradual process. I'm not Trotsky. He talked about perpetual physical revolution. I'm not saying that. Or I'm only pointing out we have lived on this unfortunate and brutal world for the last 50,000 years as human beings. We have not evolved. That's a fact. Can't refute it. There have been religions after religions, right? Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and man has manipulated these things and said yes. And that still remains for him. The other day, Mr. Jha, you know perhaps him.
Yes.
And then he told us, a man was building a temple. He's building, and after having built a temple, he found he was getting very great deal of money from that temple. So he said, I'm going to build temples all over India. I'll try to get more money. These are not simple, I'm just pointing.
Oh yes, indeed. I was very grateful, sir, that you did concede that humanity perhaps may have moved a foot over these centuries.
Yes,
And no, but I want to say that even though the improvement over time may seem small or may in fact be small, I want to be grateful for it. Now I notice, for instance, in our own country, say on the question of untouchability, I think our crimes against the so-called untouchables are continuing, but I also notice that amongst the others, there's been a great change in attitude over the years. And there are similar issues in the world where I personally feel that humanity has moved forward. I think, relatively speaking again, there is greater concern in one corner of the world for the rest of the world today than there was some time back.
No.
Now simultaneously, of course, there is this threat of nuclear war, imminent threat possibly.
So it's the nationalities that are creating war.
Well, it's the...
One of the causes, economic division,
Sure.
religious division, social division, individual divisions are creating this mess in the world. It's a fact.
It is a fact.
So change the thing. Not say, well, another 10 years we'll be more weakened by...
But sir, may I hold you to this? You said change the thing. How shall we do so?
I'll show you. Are you really interested?
Yes.
That means you have to leave your position and I leave my position. We have no stand. We both are inquiring. And no.
Yes.
Discrimination, please. To inquire, you must be free. A scientist, he may have theories, he may have hypotheses, he may have all past knowledge. If you want to discover something new, you push all that aside. You must be free to look through the microscope and find out. Right? That's a fact. Or you, from the Moses patriarch, put aside all that. Your individuality, your personal experience, your knowledge, your nationality, your name, and all that, and two people, amicably, have a dialogue about this, and to explore. Otherwise, I may think I'm exploring, but I'm tired.
Oh, I fully concede that. I'd like to have an absolutely open mind, but I would like to have...
Not an open mind. Forgive me. Of a mind that has left all its knowledge behind. Otherwise, you can't explain.
I would agree with that.
Two against one. If you and I, both of us, this is a fact, I've left it. I'm no longer a Hindu, I'm no longer all the rest of the lesson. I'm not a Catholic, I don't believe in God, I believe in God, all that put aside.
But are we not entitled to inquire what Krishnaji's inquiries thus far have shown him?
What is this?
On how to end all these divisions, which...
I'm not talking about divisions, you're missing. I am saying you and I are exploring, right?
Yes.
To explore, when you must forget and I must forget our experiences, our condition, I'm a Hindu and this and put all that aside to explore. If I cannot do that, I cannot explore to discover or to find what is true. If I am self, I am most respectfully content. If I am attached to being a Catholic, believing in Jesus, believing in all that stuff, I can't move. This is logical.
Somehow I still feel that the position of an open mind is a better position for this reason, that even if I say to myself, I will forget everything,
No.
I will stop being what I am, I forget the precise phrases you used, but that was the...
Excuse me, sir. I'm really saying to inquire
Yes.
into my head. If I want to inquire into my head, I go to a doctor. And he says, look, you cannot eat this. Go to bed, don't smoke, don't drink, watch it. So, I'm open to his suggestions. Right, sir?
Yes.
Now I'm saying to inquire, to explore, find out. You and I who are having a dialogue must be free to go. That's all. Which means you must take off your colored glasses of privilege, and I must remove my privileges and look at it afresh. That's all I'm saying.
So Dr. Aram has another appointment. You go, will carry on.
What's up?
Dr. Aram has another appointment.
I'm sorry.
Please excuse me. This was...
We will carry on.
thank you very much.
No, sir.
Thank you very much.
I don't know what to tell you.
No, we must carry on.
Okay.
This
Very
is very
good.
interesting.
Yes.
We are at a very interesting point. We should carry on.
So I agree that we must inquire, and I certainly would like to shed prejudices I have, although I would not like to shed the beliefs I have.
Same thing, sir.
Well, I don't know whether they are the same things.
I'm sure people are willing to look at it. Why should one have beliefs at all?
Because I cannot envisage a situation where a man lives with no beliefs. He must have, not to have a belief is also a decision of some kind.
No.
And therefore, since I cannot envisage a position where man is without belief, and since I recognize that there are areas where it is not possible to know and where one must believe, I am content, satisfied to believe, and I would like to be persuaded that there is a possibility of not believing.
Why do we believe? Why do you believe? Personally, I'm very clear on this matter. I am honest, I'm not clear on others. I have no beliefs. None whatever. God or not. India, nobody.
Would you say that you believe in what I have been given, this, the core of Krishnaji's teaching?
No, I don't believe. Either it is or it's not.
Well, that also is
No, it's not belief.
it's a simultaneous possibility of two things. I don't know whether in this world we can do away with belief. I don't see that.
You see, let's inquire. You take a stand.
I have to place my cards on the table.
No, you took a stand. I don't believe anybody who can live on this earth. You have belief.
I said I don't believe. Yes, that is my
Yes.
position.
So
that's my view.
You move away from that.
Why? I must have reason to do so.
Seeing that beliefs are the cause of conflict, because the moment you have one belief and I have another belief, there is conflict between us. If on the other hand we are both prepared to look at facts as they are and put our beliefs aside, then there is a new situation. So it is possible for two people to put away their beliefs in order to look at facts as they are. Perhaps we will move further.
I personally don't believe in God. Almighty. I don't believe in Jesus or Krishna, Rama, Sita. None. They are only invented by thought.
That's also your belief, sir.
No. You see, forgive me, I explain. Belief implies, as you pointed out, not knowing, and I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know God exists, but I believe in God.
I would put it differently. I would say that not being able to prove,
I believe.
yes, and I believe, and you choose not to believe.
No. I'm exploring subtly. I believe, I don't believe. I don't find.
No, you said that I believe that there is no.
No, sir, I did not say. That is easy communication. For me, there is no God.
Well, you are expressing it in forthright terms. I'll say for me, there is God.
Now, just let's find out the truth. Whether there is God or no God. Whether God is invented by man because he's frightened, fearful, suffers, constant turmoil, therefore believes something outside.
Or he may look at the flowers and the birds and also believe in God.
No.
And it's the wonder of the world too may turn him towards God.
Those
Not just the fears of the world, not just the fear of death,
Yes.
although that also has a place.
If you don't mind, Mr. from the front, you are investigating.
But we have a right to marvel. We have a right to marvel at the human body and the human eye, the human brain.
Sir,
Not just fear, it's a sense of wonder. A sense.
yeah, wonder. All right, wonder. I wonder if there is God.
Sometimes I wonder too.
But actually that doesn't answer my question. Could you and I have a dialogue exploring into the reality, whether there is or there is not? If I say there is, and you say, sorry, I don't, then we are lost. We are contradicting each other. If you are interested in exploring, and I am interested in exploring, both of us, then we can proceed. Which means freedom from all concepts.
I think I still feel that I can't quite see the rightness of moving away from a position of I have an open mind. I do not see abandoning beliefs somehow. Although I have a readiness to abandon them, should I be convinced? If I am convinced?
Not convinced. How convinced? Who is going to convince you?
My wife says the same thing to me at times.
No, I'm not convinced what your wife says to you.
That it's very hard to convince me.
I'm not trying to convince you. I'm not trying to say believe in me.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
All right. So, please examine. And you are unwilling to examine, that's all.
No, I disagree with that. I feel I am willing to examine. I also feel that I would be, I would like, so I am in this position where I believe in God.
Now, sir, let's examine, I say. You keep on repeating, I believe in God. But I say, let's find out. Your belief has nothing to do with God. He may exist, he may not exist. But you believe.
I do.
Yes, so you keep on repeating it. That's what the world is saying.
I must be truthful.
So I stop myself, truthful. A Catholic believes in Jesus. Right? He is the only Savior of mankind. Right? That's it.
Yes.
Catholics, yes.
Protestants also.
Please. Protestants. Hindus do it in their own way. It's the same question. I said, look, to find out the truth of the matter, the truth, not according to me or according to you, we must go have a dialogue and we question our beliefs, our ideas, our concepts. And by questioning with freedom, then you can find out. But apparently yourself and not point out. You are really unwilling to say, I believe in God. You stay there. Then like the Catholic, and with many of them, I believe that's the end of it. Like the communists say, I have great many friends who are communists, they say, Marx and they're free to come discuss.
Yes. On Achyuti's point that the variety of beliefs are a cause or the cause of tension in the world, I wonder how true that is.
Oh yes, it's very simple. The communists believe in Marx, Engels, Stalin. They've got a system and they believe in that system.
No, my point was that...
Just wait. The Democrats have their own system. They believe in it. So the two beliefs are at each other's throat.
But also we have communists at one another's throats and Democrats at one another's throats.
Of course,
and people holding the same beliefs also fight each other, showing that belief is not the sole cause at any rate of tension. That's all I wanted to bring out. I think it's possible to continue with our beliefs and to be open, even open to the possibility that one has deluded oneself. I don't deny that, although I don't accept that either. But I think as a precondition for inquiry or investigation, the abandonment of all previously held beliefs, sorry, I can't buy that.
No, what I say is, for two people to communicate with each other,
Yes.
is it possible to put belief on the shelf for the time being so that we talk to each other without any preconditions? Yes.
I think purely as an intellectual discussion.
No. You see, I say that if with this mind which has put aside its beliefs, not given them up, put them aside for the time being, there is greater community. Is it? We can try it. I say it would be interesting to try it.
I can't say I either really fully understood this. I mean, I can understand it intellectual, assuming that God does, or assuming that I should not believe that God exists.
I did not say that.
What is the meaning of putting it on one side or on the shelf?
No, I did not say all that.
Achyuti said it.
You're right to say it. But I did not say that. I
was responding to
I said there must be freedom to inquire.
Yes.
sir.
Which means, right, sir, which means you drop your belief, I drop my belief.
Oh, dropping. You draw a distinction between dropping and putting it on the shelf.
Sir, I would use much stronger phrase, which is cut out your beliefs and I'll cut out my beliefs.
Well, I say, I plead an inability to do so.
That finishes. Then there's no inquiry. It's like talking to a Catholic, devout Catholic. He says, I'll go up to a point. After that, I won't discuss with you. Because I know what he wants. He's scared. I'm not saying you are. He's scared because he said, my God, if I have no belief in Jesus, where am I? I'm faced with my own self.
That could be one reason, or since you are generous enough to say that this does not apply to me.
I didn't, all right.
Yeah.
May I say, may not?
Well, I thought you said this doesn't apply to you.
All right.
But I am unwilling to drop my belief because I'm convinced of the rightness of the belief. So it's not fair.
She's also convinced the rightness of his belief.
Sure.
So, there's no conversation is possible.
But friendship is possible.
Look, you and I can be friends, but you go your way, I go my way.
Well, I hope I go a wiser man.
No, that's all just what. When we're talking much deeper things, that human brain needs freedom. Otherwise it cannot fly, that's all. If I'm tethered to Jesus, or to Krishna, or to God, I cannot walk very far. Also was that ends the conversation.
Thank you for this
No, sir.
chance to
No.
meet with you.
Thank you. But you see this one. This is exactly what is happening in the world. What's his name? Reagan says, President Reagan says, I will go that far only. And Rothbard says, I will go only that far. That will never be. You go your way, and I will go.
But
I'm
I
with
was
Siddhartha.
saying that if two people are willing to communicate without preconditions, then the beliefs that you have and whatever he may have to say, for the time being they are put aside because they don't come in the course of the communication as barriers to communication. Do you understand this?
I think I do, but I think you are recommending an intellectual discussion with assumptions of, that you...
No assumptions on either side.
Yes.
I'm not
Whereas he is advocating, much stronger.
Not intellectual communication. What I say
Yes.
is two people have to have a dialogue. Then each person must put his own prejudices or preconceptions aside for the moment so that they don't come impede communication.
Well, if I understand you the way I understand it, I'm willing to go along with that. But if I understand this as a genuine request inwardly to suspend and give up one's beliefs...
First, as I say, for communication to come into being, there is a readiness to say, let me see, I don't want to put any impediments to communication. We can communicate. Then the problem that we are interested in is that is there a course possible for man for a radical change in consciousness? This is a question of shared interest. We are
Yes.
see the urgency
Yes.
of it, we want to understand it. Therefore I feel that if the urgency of the question is considered, then we should be prepared to put away the impediments to communication. That's all I was saying.
I would really like to know Krishnaji's views on that, on how,
On what, sir?
you know, since he spoke of shared concerns, I would
Shared concern.
concerns about the world's
A change, radical change in human
consciousness. I would be tremendously keen to know about Krishnaji's ideas on how to.
Not ideas.
Say cement.
I want
What would you say? What are they?
facts. Ideas are not facts.
But I said Krishnaji's ideas. Am I entitled to use the phrase Krishnaji's?
No, no.
Then what should I
They are
say?
not.
What,
They are not.
Krishnaji's blank
No.
on the subject.
No,
What word would you like to say?
Sir, just try. He is dealing only with facts, not with ideas, theories, problems, suppositions, beliefs.
But
Sir,
I
have you listened? Please, did you listen what I said? He says he's only dealing with facts, not with ideas, not with beliefs, not with concepts, only facts. That there's a nuclear threat of war,
yes.
man suffers, man believes, man has invented all the religious activities.
Man also disbelieves. There's many who just
Well,
disbelieve.
of course,
Yeah.
You don't have to say that's so obvious. And man has created this mess in the world
Yes.
through nationalism, through ideals,
Through his selfishness.
ideals. You have your ideals. The communists have
But it's possible to say that ideals have perhaps reduced the suffering in the world also.
What?
It is possible to hold that ideals have also reduced the suffering in the world.
No, I question it.
Yes, but that is your way of looking at it.
Not my way. I say let's question it, not say they have reduced and take a position. You have
This is what I was saying. Now, for instance, when I spoke about, say, the improvement in the attitude on the untouchability question in India, I say that idealism over a period of time has brought about that improvement. The attitude to the blacks.
I know all that. But you're missing my point if I may not respect the same time. Ideals have divided the people in the world. Communist ideals.
But if I may say so, I am not shy of paradoxes. I say ideals have both divided the world and helped the world.
I say no. So I'm willing to let my belief go, and you let your belief go. Move away from
this. So what I say is the central issue, which is far more urgent and about which there is a shared concern, is the crisis of humanity, which is not merely a crisis of atomic threat, but a crisis in the consciousness of man.
Yes.
And now we are here meeting for a dialogue to say, can we approach this crisis of human consciousness in a totally new way? That means we must be prepared to be open to say, is there another way of looking at this crisis? That's all.
Oh yes, I'm happy with that.
That's all I'm saying.
With your formulation, I am happy at
But I say that is what I would like to happen. That I would like that if you are willing to look at it, I say just look at this crisis.
Yes?
You're not being fair, but nearly an hour and a half. We have moved.
We don't know.
I just said, don't let's go. You haven't moved. I say move. Drop your ideas. put aside your beliefs and all the rest of it. He said, no, beliefs are the right place, beliefs. I believe in God, you don't believe, atheists don't believe it. So we remain where we are. It's your God, Catholics with their God, communists with their God, Lenin. That's it.
And I am saying that if two people have a shared concern for the crisis in human consciousness, they can for the time being put aside everything else and only meet at that level. With deep concern and with common interest, shared interest in the crisis of human survival, which is created by consciousness.
So you keep on repeating that. Mr. Gandhi says, no, I won't read my priest.
No, I don't think he says.
He says, I believe in God, I believe in prayer.
Of course, sir. We all remain what we are. When I say that if two people meet,
You haven't met, sir.
that is what I am saying. I am trying to say that.
Don't keep on repeating. You haven't met.
It is possible for two people to meet. That is what I am.
It has not been possible. This is what I am saying, sir. Catholics don't meet communists. Hindu, active, stained, conditioned Hindu won't meet Muslims. They talk about
Not
it.
the case like that.
This is what's happened.
I don't think. No, is it so? That is not a problem. Problem is that if idioms divide, then it should be possible for us to resolve the idioms that divide.
So I'm not an Indian.
Pardon?
I'm not an Indian.
Well, idioms, not Indians.
Idioms.
Idiom.
Idioms, that is, if language divides, it should be possible for us to transcend the barrier of language to make communication possible, meaningful communication possible. That's all I am.
I would absolutely agree with that.
Then let go your idiom.
Both, you see, I say it is
I let go
possible.
my idiom. Both of us drop all our liquidation. Let's
With
try
me
that.
again, sir.
Let's try that.
If you wish, what I mean is that if you and I,
But my difficulty is you want me to drop my idiom,
No,
which I'm ready.
I'm
no,
not.
that was what you said.
Mhm.
He wants me to drop my belief. I'm willing
No,
to
no,
go along with
no,
the change
no.
of idiom, but not.
he doesn't want to do anything.
So, I've listened to two great scientists. They were dialogue. They were in opposing camps. And I suggested you all have a dialogue. One of them stuck to his point of view, absolutely. And we stopped this thing. Right? And I'm afraid we are listening. How would you leave a total atheist?
Oh, willingly.
Wait, you I'm going to
I've met a fair number.
without substitute. He doesn't believe in God.
I'm aware.
Yes. How do you have a conversation with him?
I do. I mean, I don't know how to recap it, but the fact is that I've had hundreds of conversations
Sir,
with
I'm-
atheists and communists.
Here you are. Suppose I'm a total atheist.
Yes.
I don't believe in God.
Sure.
Now, continue with me.
Well, I would say, how do we reduce the selfishness in the
Well,
world?
I'm not concerned with that. I'm concerned with God.
No, many atheists are interested in reducing human selfishness.
No,
So I can have a conversation with them.
Sir, I don't believe in God. Don't go back to suffering and all that. I'm talking of belief. You have
No, but it's not as necessary that I must only talk with an atheist about atheism.
Sorry,
Is it, sir?
this has become simple. I am talking, I am asking you most politely and respectfully, don't take a stand about God, and I won't take a stand about God either. But let's find out the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is not based on belief. And you say, yes, I can't let go of my belief.
I would say this, sir. You do not believe in God. I believe in God. Let us find out how together we can play our part in reducing the suffering of the world.
I know what I will do. I will reduce suffering of the man's suffering. I talked about it for the last 60 years. Very simple. First of all, suffering is shared by all human beings.
Yes.
Suffering is also a great part of it is self-pity.
Not all suffering is self-pity.
I said, would you kindly listen? In suffering, my son is lost. There, I suffer. In that suffering, there is both loneliness, self-pity.
Yes.
I possess somebody and he's gone. All that's involved. Mostly self-concern. Mostly, just mostly. And this is shared by all human beings. It's not your suffering. It's not individual suffering. Mr. Smith living in America, his wife lives in suffering. Russia. So we're all sharing the common suffering.
Yes.
It's all part of us.
Yes.
So there is no individual suffering. And to grasp that, it takes tremendous effort, as we are having now. I said, therefore, there is no individuality at all. This is not my belief, it's so. You are conditioned by your parents, by your society, by your beliefs and so on. Another. So as long as those conditions exist, conditioned mind reigns, you will have perpetual conflict.
And how would you remove those conditions?
Conditioning. I said, first of all, be aware that you are conditioned. Don't accept my word or anybody's word. First, find out your condition. As a Hindu, as a Muslim, as a Catholic, and so on. Right? And so on. When you are aware, there is no choice. Be aware choicelessly that you are conditioned. You are conditioned by your name. You are conditioned by your experience. You are conditioned by your education, by your reputation. And I am conditioned as a Catholic, and we never meet. We talk about it, talk about friendliness, we talk about improving society and so on, but we never meet. My belief prevents me from meeting your belief. You believe in Krishna, whatever you believe, and I believe in Jesus as the only Savior. We might be friends, join the same club, play golf together, talk about social reform, but we never meet.
But we may still be friends and we may avoid war in the world.
Yes, we don't. You may, but the fact is, these beliefs are destroying people. The Chinese are specialized communists. They're against Russia.
Because of rivalry. Because of rivalry.
Not only rivalry, because of economic reasons, for their idea of a concept of communism, betrayal by Russia, all the rest of it. So they're against Russia as a different kind of communism. Like the Protestants are against the Catholics. So I was looking at it, I said, for God's sake, don't divide yourself by belief, by concepts, by ideas, by nationality. And if you want to go around that way, please, I'm not today. That way is to work. I have discussed with many politicians world over. They go up to a certain point after 6 years. You're too idealist, you're too this, you're too that, and conversation stops, as it has stopped with us. Yes, sir, that's finished.